Hi, this is Steve Wright here to tell you about Silhouette Paint for Nuke from Boris FX. Silhouette Paint is an OFX plugin that drops in easily and becomes just another Nuke node. Its shape-based tracking is tightly integrated with a highly efficient auto paint recording system that delivers the speed of raster-based paint with the flexibility of vector paint. The interactivity and speed never get heavy even with hundreds of strokes per frame. And like Nuke, it's designed for high-end feature film work, is high dynamic range, 32-bit float, and supports 8K and higher resolution. The Auto Paint feature is one of my favorite Silhouette Paint features and is a magnificent example of the advantages of having tracking tightly coupled to your paint program. It allows you to track an element, then use that tracking data to apply the paint strokes from just one frame over the length of the entire shot. Let's see how it works. First, I'm going to cache my clip. And one thing you'll like about Silhouette Paint is once it caches a clip, it stays cached. So any operations you do doesn't blow out the cache. So I'm going to jump to frame 1. Let's switch over to the Roto department. And I'm going to grab myself a simple rectangle to track my plate. I'll select the tracker. And amongst the 3 trackers, I'm going to choose the Mocha tracker. The defaults are going to work just fine for me, so let's go ahead and track this shot. The great thing about Silhouette's tracking and stabilizing tools is that they are non-destructive and never degrade your plates. And we're done. I'm going to rename my layer as a tower tracker. Okay, we're now ready to go over to the paint department and paint out the tower. So I'm going to use a clone brush to paint out the tower on frame 1. Then I'm going to take that tracking data and apply it to the entire clip. So let's give it a go. We'll start by selecting the clone brush. I'm going to push in and I'm going to increase the size of my brush. And let me set the clone offset like about so. And I'm going to come through here and paint this out. Now to get the fiddly little bits down here at the bottom, so I'm going to reduce the size of my brush to handle the extra small details. Come in here and paint these out, like so. Okay. Now do a little blending. So I'm going to go set my opacity down to a very transparent, maybe 30%. Let's increase the size of my brush. I'm going to pan the viewer down here a little bit. And let's do some nice gentle feathering of the paint strokes here, so we get a lovely job. Okay, I'm all done painting frame 1. So now let's go get that tracking data and apply it to the whole clip. So first, I'll select my paint layer with all the strokes. You can see them all lit up there on the screen. I'll come down to the transform and I'm going to select my tower tracker data. Tell it here in the paint history that I want to do a match move, and I want it to be for all frames of the shot. Go. And now the Auto Paint feature is going to use that tracking data to track my paint strokes over the entire length of the shot. All done. And let's play the clip. Very nice. As you can see, the Auto Paint feature is both a time saver and provides consistent quality over the length of the shot. In the Auto Paint demo, I used intraframe cloning within the same frame. So here we'll look at interframe cloning between different frames. And those different frames can be either frames from the input clip or frames from the 2 additional input options on the Silhouette Paint node. So my mission here is to paint out that flock of birds. And of course we got the wobbly camera, and I've already stabilized this plate. So I'm going to just turn on my BG tracker and paint on a stabilized plate. We love to paint on stabilized plates. We'll stop that, jump to frame 1, and let's set it up. So I'm going to select the clone brush here, and whenever you do, you wake up the whole world of cloning down here. So I'm going to define the source to be the foreground. I want an absolute frame 48, which is my last frame. So I'm going to hold frame 48. Turn on the onion skin. There, you can see that. See, there's the birds in 48. Here's my flock over here. These are the guys that are moving. Now, if I play this, you can see that my source plate, frame 48, is not locked to my background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it that I want to use that transform, the BG tracker that I already did, and attach the source to that. So now my source is going to move with my background plate. Look at that. All right. Okay, we are good to go. So we'll jump to the first frame, turn off the onion skin. Let's cruise in here. We'll need a bird-sized brush, of course. And let's just paint out some birds. Okay, next frame. Oh, this is just so easy and quick. I can't believe they pay me to do this. Oh my. Now, let's talk about alignment for a moment. I'm going to rehome the viewer for a second here. You have the onion skin to check that things are lined up. Let's go forward to the next frame here. But you get a more precise reading using what they call the align mode. I love this. I actually teach this in my book. So here's the align mode, and what it does is it makes an inverse sum copy dissolve between the two plates, and what happens is you see these little funny lines. When your two plates are perfectly aligned, you get a uniform smooth gray. There's no bright or dark spots. But if things are not aligned, you see that? Okay, so what we can do is use the align mode to hyperposition things. So let's see. I got a little action going on over here that's not over there. That suggests there's a bit of a rotate, right? So I'm going to punch up the rotate feature, go back to align mode, and I'm going to just rotate it a teensy weensy bit. Then I'll nudge it into position until I zero everything out to a nice uniform gray. Okay, so everything is now beautifully aligned. All right, so let's punch out of the align mode, back to our picture. Let's start painting out some birds. Okay, I think you get it. So I'm going to go away and finish painting these birds, and I'll be right back. Okay, birds all painted out, so let's play and have an admiration moment to see how well we did. Oh, that's just lovely. Took no time at all. Okay, the next thing I'd like to show you is clone brush between input 1 and my source plate here. I'm going to tell the system that my clone source will be input 1. And if I turn on the onion skin, you can see it's this great big building. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale that building down and park it right over here and then paint it in. All right. So we have the wonderful interactive mode. So any clone source, we can apply the interactive transforms. We can scale it. We can translate it. We can rotate it, skew, and even corner pin. Okay. So I'm going to position this guy down here right where I want him. Okay. So I can turn off the interactive controls. Back to the onion skin. Now, this is a single held frame for the entire length of the clip. So clearly it's not tracked with my background, is it? No problem. I'll jump to the first frame. I'm going to select my background tracker and tell it that I want the source to do a match move with my background using the background tracker. So we'll play that. Well, looky there. Okay, so input 1 is all tracked with the plate. Now there's one more thing I'd like to show you, and that's the pin warp. Very often, especially if you're doing face painting, you want to do a nonlinear deformation. You like to warp things around, right? So they got this wonderful pin warp tool in here. I'm going to show you very quickly on this building. So I'm going to grab that and just tuck it in. I want to add a little perspective to my building, right? Okay, and we'll do the same thing over here. It's so easy to use and so intuitive. Now, of course, I could have used the corner pin on the transform controls, but that wouldn't be any fun at all. Because the pin warp, is exactly what you want for these non-linear deformations, like I said, lining up face features, okay? All right, let's back out of that. So my input 1 clone source is now tracked, transformed, and warped to my plate. So now let's paint it in. So I'm going to go down to my clone brushes and I'm going to set up a square. I want to make it a little larger. Also want the softness to be very low. I want a hard brush because I need to paint in some real sharp stuff here. So I'm going to get this guy right in the corner and use the straight line draw feature right there that I never showed you before. Isn't that sweet? Don't you wish you had that before? Okay, we'll do the same thing over here. Okay, and then I'll get the top up here. All right, now we can just paint in. Okay, very nice. Okay. Okay, now if I turn off my onion skin, I've got a painted in building. Now the problem is that I need to erase it along the edge of my hillside here. So, okay, so let's take care of that next. I'll turn on the overhead onion skin. I'll go get my eraser. Let's set the brush back to being a circle with normal softness. And we'll start by just doing a big old giant swatch out here. Okay, so for the fine work up close, I'm going to need a much smaller brush, like so. Push in and paint. Now this is going to take a little while, so I'm going to use speed painting, okay? I'll show you how to do that in another video. And we're done. Okay, so let's rehome the viewer. Now, we know that my building is tracked with the plate, but my paint strokes are not. In fact, they only exist on frame 1, okay? Not a problem. So I'm going to select all those paint strokes. There you go. There's my paint strokes. So I'm not only going to track them over the length of the whole shot, but they're going to repaint them over the whole shot using the autoplay feature. So I select my strokes. I make sure I've got my background tracker on. I say I want to do a match move over all frames. Go. And Silhouette Paint is going to automatically paint the entire shot for me. And we're done. So let's see how we did. Let's play and have an admiration moment. Ah, very nice. Now the clone brush is a key feature of any digital paint program, and I found the Silhouette Paint clone brush to be extremely powerful and precise. You will definitely enjoy working with it. One of the most delicate paint operations we can do is the glam pass to remove blemishes from aspiring movie stars. Silhouette Paint makes this difficult task much easier with a dedicated blemish brush which combines both blur and grain operations in one brush. So let's take a look. So here's my clip. First I'm going to cache it. And again, the non-destructive silhouette cache is much appreciated. Once cached, it's always cached. So first I'm going to do my tracking. So we'll head over to the Roto department here. Now I've already drawn a shape for frame 1. So we'll push in, and these are the blemishes that we're going to have to deal with here. So to do a track on this, I'll simply select my spline, select tracking, choose the Mocha tracker, and go. Okay, tracking is done. Let's check it out. So to help keep things organized, let's rename this to Jaw Tracker. And let's head out for the paint department. Okay, make sure I'm on frame 1. So I'll select the Blemish Brush, which as you know, contains both a blur and a grain. I'm going to show you one of the neat features here. We have the split screen effect. It goes right here. I can adjust that. What it does is it takes the brush that you've selected with whatever settings you have and applies it to the whole screen. So you can wipe over the picture and see the effect of your brush. You don't have to go brush stroke, delete, set parameter, brush stroke, delete, set parameter. So we can just sit here and let me dial in, let's say I give the blur a 2. Oh, that's not enough. See that? You can see my blemishes there. So we'll put that back to the default, which is actually a very good setting. All right, so let's close that. We know we're going to get a good result. So we'll come back up here and let's set my brush size for something blemish sized, nice and small. And we'll tick that away, wish here, touch there. Click here, over there. Make sure we get this big guy here. Okay, I'll toggle it on and off. So you can see, yep, got my blemishes fixed. So next, we're going to use Auto Paint to track this over the entire length of the shot. So we'll select our paint layer. Transform will be the jaw tracker. Enable Match Move. Set it for all frames. Go. And now the Auto Paint feature will paint the whole clip for me. All right, so let's play that and see what we got. Okay, very nice. Combining the Blemish Brush with Auto Paint offers a real quality and productivity boost to your digital makeup work. The Dual Clone Brush feature samples from two separate regions and blends them together for painting on difficult gradient surfaces. Let me show you how it works. Now this is a shot I did many years ago to remove this wall outlet using comp techniques. And of course my problem was trying to get a good blend because the gradient in the lighting makes it very, very difficult. So let's try the usual stuff. I'll punch up a clone brush here. We'll set my clone size, a nice clone offset, and give it a paint. Oh, too dark. All right, so how about over here? So we'll try this. And, oh, too light. Okay, from the top, right? That'll work. Yeah, that'll work. No good. Okay, so this is exactly what the dual clone brush was made for. So first I'll set one clone from over here. Then I'll say I want to create a second clone offset from over here. Then I'll turn on the dual clone feature. Now looky here. You see my brush? I'm going to be sampling from the left and the right and averaging it into the middle. Since I'm going to kill the grain doing this, I want a mask for my grain. So I'm going to turn on the alpha channel too. All right, so let's paint and look at that. It is gorgeous. Gone. So let's auto paint this across the whole shot. I've already done my tracking and named it a wall tracker, so I'll just select my paint layer, go to the transforms and say I want to use the wall tracker to do a match move for all frames. Go. And Silhouette will just paint the whole shot for me. And see what we did. Oh, look at that. Absolutely flawless. Now, I also painted myself a little mask. You want to see? There's the mask overlay for my alpha channel, and there's my alpha channel. And it, too, was tracked. So I'm now ready to repaint the grain using the alpha channel as a paint mask. I'll go get my grain brush, set it to obey alpha so it'll only regrain within my paint mask. Find out where my paint is. Oh, there it is. Okay, and then we'll just regrain this one little area here. And again, I'm going to track that right in. So I'll just select him, make sure my transform is set for wall tracker, match move in all frames, and go. There you go. All done. So there you have it. A perfectly blended dual clone brush fix with a mask grain operation in just a couple of minutes. Silhouette Paint has a powerful array of brush types that add both artistic control and productivity to your painting experience, and some of them are really quite unique. So the brush toolbar is over here where all the brushes live. So let's start at the top with the black and white brush. Let's push in a little bit on our picture. Guess what this does? You got it. Next is the Blemish Brush, which we saw earlier, so we can skip that one. Below that's the blur brush, which of course we use to blur selected areas of the picture. Okay, below that is the detail brush. Now here are some of those unique things I was telling you about. Silhouette Paint divides the world into color layers and detail layer. Let me take the viewer gamma down so you can see better. The detail layer, I like to think of that as like the texture behind the color. So with a detail brush, I can enhance the detail. It's going to increase the texture. You can see that as I keep piling it up here. All right, so that's what it's doing. Now let's see how it looks. I'll undo all of those, reset my gamma back to default. Let's go back to our paint situation and let's increase the detail on the skin. Okay, it's a subtle effect. You want it to be subtle. Next on our brushes hit parade is the clone brush, We've already seen the clone brush, so we can skip this one too. Below that is the color brush. And what we do with that is we sample colors on the screen, and then we can paint in that color. Okay, below the color brush is the color correct brush. This is another one of those split screen opportunities. I can, for example, increase the brightness. Okay, and then the split screen allows me to see it everywhere I want to look. Turn off the split screen, and now I have a brightness brush. Okay, below that is the dodge, a photographic dodge. So that's going to apply a dodge to the image. You can give it, many, many passes, make it as dodgy as you want. And of course, below the dodge is the burn. There, she's been burned. The little scissors, that's your cutout. So you can, cut out a little piece of the picture and then just stamp yourself silly. Next is the drag, or some might call this a smear brush, okay? Because it will smear colors for you. One thing I've noticed about it, though, it has something clever about the algorithm. It's more useful than other smear brushes I've ever worked with. It seems to drag the colors more naturally. I don't know. Below that, of course, is the eraser brush, which, of course, erases everything. Next, the grain brush, which, of course, will regrain your picture. Below the regrain is mosaic. Now, for that, we want to turn on our split screen. Now, the mosaic gives you this pixelated gag. Of course, we can dial it down and preview it for the entire picture. We'll just turn it off. And then we know exactly what we get for our arrest pictures. Okay, the little wrench is the repair brush. Now, what this does, this is like a color brush, but what it does is it grabs the color that you click on and drags it over the entire length of the stroke. Now, this would be very handy if you wanted to, for example, correct the tone layer in a region without affecting its color. So you'd use this. And lastly, we have the scatter brush. And what it does is it literally scatters the pixels around. So with an array of brushes like this, there's simply no paint problem that you won't be able to solve. While the Roto in Silhouette Paint is not fully featured like the full Silhouette product, it's tightly integrated with tracking and paint to help you move quickly and accurately through your painting operations. There are 3 types of trackers and an array of Roto types, and even a built-in IK skeletal structure for articulated character rotos. So here are the 3 types of splines. You have your Bezier, you've got your B-spline. Let me select the point so you can see the control points there. Okay, and you have an X-spline, and the obligatory square, circle, plus there are open splines with variable stroke width. So let's take a look at some of the features of these shapes. Now, when you ask to see the alpha channel with the keyboard shortcut, first you're going to get the mask overlay in blue, then you hit it again, you're going to see the actual Roto. So let's take a look at some of these features. I'm going to select this guy here, and we have a built-in blur operation. Okay, I'll undo that. We have built-in shrink and grow, dilate or erode. Okay, look at that, built in. No dilate and erode nodes. We, of course, have a single point feather. Each point can be individually set. And, of course, a realistic motion blur. Now, of course, the Roto shapes have the usual transformations: translate, rotate, scale, skew, corner pin. But they have something absolutely magical. They have magnetic deformation. This is really unique. We'll punch that up over here. There it is. And now I'm going to select my shapes. Then I'm going to select all the control points. And now with magnetic deformation, wherever I select, it'll do a magnetic deformation of the shapes. So I can pick different points. So this gives you tremendous control over arbitrarily reshaping your rotos. So here's that built-in IK or inverse kinematic structure I was telling you about. I'm going to punch up the IK tool here, then select my shapes that are already wired for it. There you go. And now I'm ready to do my IK thing. Look at this. So the inverse kinematics will be a very big help for your articulated character animation. And of course, the rotos can be combined with 6 different blend modes: add, subtract, multiply, difference, max, and inside. All important operations you're going to be using all the time. Now here's something I hadn't seen before: Silhouette. The ability to combine shapes into one, or take one shape and extract multiple shapes out of it. So let's take a look. I'll select the Reshape tool. I'll select this guy. Select these points. Select another shape, and those 2 points from the second shape. Then I'll say Combine. Boom. Okay, now I can take this shape and disappear it. There. Conversely, we can extract multiple shapes out of one. So I'll select this guy, grab a bunch of points, and then I'll say, let's extract that shape. And there it is. And of course, Silhouette is famous for its trackers. So let's take a look at the 3 trackers that come with Silhouette Paint. First of all is the point tracker. You use the point tracker when you have defined points that remain fairly constant in appearance and they don't move very far. So let's punch that up. I'll say, show me a point tracker, and I'm tracking on these 2 points right here. We also have the Silhouette Planar Tracker. I'll select this guy and punch up the Planar Tracker. Use Silhouette's Planar Tracker with well-defined planes that have multiple features to track on. And finally, we have the ever-popular Mocha Tracker. Usually the first tracker you'll try, use the Mocha Tracker for well-defined planes that have a texture. With 3 built-in trackers and these advanced roto features at your fingertips, your painting operations will be faster and more accurate than you ever thought possible. Silhouette Paint is an outstanding piece of software that is very capable, amazingly efficient, and plays very nice with Nuke. These guys did not just sit down and figure out what tools you need. They also figured out how to make them quick and easy to use. The seamless integration of tracking with the paint functions is endlessly useful for speeding your projects to the finish line. You'll love painting with Silhouette Paint.